What is happening, fellow fantasy GMs? I am JJ Wang. He is the bearded one, DJ Dove, and with our powers combined, we are the Fantasy Couriers.
What is up, JJ Wang? How are you doing this weekend?
Doing good. Got a busy weekend. 3 drafts this weekend, so getting it all in.
Holy cow.
So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I had one surprise pop up on Wednesday, one of my few redrafts that's left, and they're actually switching to a dynasty league next year. So I'm excited to have a new dynasty startup next year. So I can do a dynasty startup next year, but they couldn't find a day for everybody to meet, so we randomly started drafting on Wednesday night.
Oh yeah, I love it. I mean,
Yeah,
you'd ask me to draft anytime, I'd find a way to be able to do it.
yeah, that's what I did. I got on. I was got to Zoom with the guys. We chatted it up, and a couple hours later, we had it,
Had
had
it
our
done.
teams, and I'm rocking away. I was excited. I started out with some Kelsey and Najee Harris, and my keepers were Mahomes and Alvin Kamara. So I'm feeling pretty good about
I
that.
mean, he feels pretty confident. I mean, I'm not a big tight end first guy, but I mean, if you already got your quarterback and your running back, might as well get the next best thing.
Yeah, and you'd be shocked. I took
I
Najee
mean,
Harris Najee Harris
it's a good
over
choice.
my boy Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, that was you've been doing that a lot. I mean, you're always talking up Calvin Ridley, but you always seem to be picking somebody else over him. So are you that confident in him?
Someone's convinced me that I should draft running backs early. Like I saw him sitting there, and I said, I just can't let a 3 down running back go. So
It's
it is
hard,
what it
man.
is. It is what it is. So hey, everybody, keep on following us. We are setting a goal of 50 subscribers, followers on YouTube. So click on there, click that little follow bell, and you can see us pop up. You can hit us up on Twitter. You can hit us up on Instagram. All of the links are on the YouTube. They're also on any of the podcast pages. They're on our website, the Fantasy Couriers wixsite.com/website, or you can email us thefantasycouriers@gmail.com. Hit us up. Next week we have a couple of our winners that will be showing up for some special segments as we head into the season. JJ Wang has you got a little surprise for us this week.
Yeah, so to kind of go along with the show that we're doing this week, which is the number one show where we're each giving our number one guy from each position. I went ahead and went out through all the leagues that I was in, which is quite a bit. So I went in, collected all the data, got all the numbers I can. I mean, it was pretty consensus the way this thing seems to be going. Are the wide receivers, of course, Devontae Adams was the number one choice. He was at 24%. Your boy Ridley was at 17%,
They're
and
listening to the podcast.
Hill and Diggs both come in at 11. That's pretty consistent. The top four right there. And then we switching over to the running backs. This was even more, even a wider gap. Of course, at CMC first at with 47%, followed by Kamara and Zeke. I mean, that's pretty consensus. And then where this was the biggest one, the tight ends, you had Kelsey number one with 58, of course. Waller at 28%. Them two was pretty much the only ones that garnered any
Wow.
votes. And then as far as quarterbacks, I was actually kind of surprised. Lamar finished tied for first with Mahomes at 23%. Of course, he's got that great running ability. Hearing the news that people seem to think Lamar's been figured out, but I don't think that's really possible. He's too fast. You can't figure out his speed. And of course, they had Murray and Rogers both coming in with 11% as well. Had a pretty good turnout. I'm trying to get something, trying to get these leagues talking a little bit, getting into into the fantasy deal here. But like I said, it was pretty consistent. Some fun that I thought I'd give it a shot, go along with the show.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I like seeing it pop up, and I believe Robert Tanyan even got a vote
Yeah,
in one of
Robert
our
Tanya
leagues.
got a vote. I mean, I don't know if it was serious or not, but I think my boy Marquez Callaway got a vote. That was from the fantasy nerds league or auction league that we were in. Um, but yeah, I think Callaway was probably the farthest stretch that we got. But you never know with Jameis. You said with Jameis starting, it could be a crazy, crazy game.
I mean, they must have been watching that preseason game while they were filling it out. So,
Must have.
well, here we go. This is our as we're leading into the season, we're gonna This week, we are going to give our number one teams. Get excited. Next week, we're going to make bold, bold predictions, things that more than likely probably won't happen, but we're willing to throw it out there and look really smart if it does happen. So that's going to be the setup for next week. We'll have a couple of guests on that show to talk with us about there. So what we're going to do today is we have 6 guys we're going to talk about for each of us. We're going to pick who's going to be the QB1, the running back 1, the wide receiver 1, the tight end 1. Then we're going to pick rookies of the year. And one of them will be a quarterback, one of them will be a non-quarterback. Because it's hard to you're comparing apples and oranges when you throw in a quarterback compared to a running back in fantasy, because the quarterbacks usually get a quicker start. Like some running backs will get a quicker start, some receivers and so forth as rookies will, but generally the quarterbacks in this day and age have a bigger footing, except for I don't know. I'm still wondering if Trey Sermon or Justin Fields is going to play this year, but we'll debate that later on. So who's your QB1 there, JJ Wang? Tell me what's going on.
So my QB1 is a guy that's always in the top 10. I think he had one outside was number 11 in 2012. That probably been his rookie year. It's Russell Wilson. I think Seattle's going to possibly take a different route this year. They evidently they've hired a new offensive coordinator. I knew nothing about it. So it's like he's the passing game coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. So his name's Sean Waldron. So we all know how LA likes to throw the ball all over the place. I don't know why you would bring this guy in if you were planning on running the ball more. So maybe this finally is the year that they let Russ cook, to let him throw all over the place. And I think pretty much like the first 8 games last year, he was on incredible pace. So if he could just spread that out a little more, get a little more consistent, like he always does. I mean, he's like I say, he's always a top 10 quarterback. He had 40 touchdowns. I think that's definitely doable. Maybe even a little more if they're bringing in a passing game guy. So, yeah, I think I like Russell Wilson's chances this year for that number 1.
Wow, that is a bold take. It's just hoping that Russell Wilson has that strong season like he had that first half. Like you say, that first half of the season wasn't, I think he was quarterback 1 through the first 8 games, and then the wheels fell off
It
of that
was
Seahawks train.
Yeah, it was between either him or Kyler Murray, who was that number 1 quarterback. Because I mean, they both kind of fell off
Yeah.
a little bit there in the second half of the season. But yeah, like I said, like that first half of this, I mean, he had a 2 5 touchdown games. He had a 4 touchdown game, 2 4 touchdown games in that first eight weeks. I mean, if he could just spread that out a little more, I mean, he definitely got a chance. He's always there. So
Yeah,
touchdown here, touchdown there.
I
Who's your
love
guy?
this. Well, my guy almost should be on the bold prediction show, I guess. We've been debating him before, but there's just something feels right about it this year. I see Tom Brady. Yep, Tom Brady, who, believe it or not, shares a birthday with my father. He just turned
Oh,
44 years
nice.
old a few weeks ago, but
All right.
he is returning all those starters. Is there any team in history that has had starters as good as he has at the 3 skill positions? So you're looking at AB, Godwin, and Evans. And then Gronk is just hanging out there as old man Gronk catching the touchdowns. Giovanni Bernard's going to become James White. I have this weird feeling. I don't have
It's
him
possible.
anywhere. I probably should grab him. But Brady last year in the season where he started out blah, threw for 4,600 yards. So if Brady can get that up to 5,000, get that touchdown total up, and I see no, I could see it totally happening. He could be up in that realm. Last year, Aaron Rodgers was I believe, the number 3 quarterback, and he threw for, he threw. I just lost my set. He threw for almost 4,300 yards and 48 touchdowns. So if let's say Brady hits that 50 touchdown because he wants to show that he's the GOAT, and he gets couple hundred more yards. If he gets the same yards as last year, but a couple more touchdowns, then booyah. Tom Brady is quarterback 1. The argument that's coming is going to be he doesn't run.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had a fantastic year last year. I mean, all time. I mean, 48 touchdowns, all time career year. I mean, probably maybe not for him, but like for any other quarterback, and he was third. He was behind. Well, I think it was Josh Allen was first, and Mahomes was second. Or who was second? Was Mahomes second?
I lost my stats there.
Yeah. So he had a great year, and he still finishes in third place. So if if you don't have that running ability and those extra yards, you're going to have to get those 50 touchdowns. And the 50 touchdowns just don't come around very often, especially for a 44-year-old Tom Brady. And that defense is really, really good. So they may not need to score a lot of points. So I mean, it's going to be tough for Brady to finish at number one.
Yeah, it was Kyler Murray. I just found
Kyler
out.
Murray.
My stats came
Okay.
back up. So it was Josh, Kyler, then Rogers. But I just have this. Brady also sneaks in those dink
Oh
Brady
yeah.
touchdowns that he's going to get a couple of those. I have this fear as a Dolphins fan that this Bucks team is going to roll this year, and we're going to have to wait to have our toasts later in the season, if at all.
Yeah. I love me some Tom Brady. I mean, if he finishes first, I'll be happy. Like I said, I love the guy. So I think it's just gonna be hard for him to finish without that rushing capability.
Yeah. So, well, we're rolling into the running backs, and I'll kick it off here. There's no surprise who my RB1 is. He was the guy that I had as my RB1 on the running back preview show, and that is Dalvin Cook. We're just gonna let Dalvin Cook this year. He is in his prime. He is in year 5, and I think this year will be his best year of his career. Last year he had his 1,500 yards and his 16 touchdowns, and receptions were okay, but I think he can pick that back up now that they're going to focus more on the receivers because they have good receivers on the outside. Hopefully Thielen comes back healthy. There's a little nick right now going on, but if Irv Smith steps up, Jefferson on the other side, Thielen is on or around for Cousins to pass to, then he should get a couple dink and dunks out of the backfield to get more than 44 receptions. That's Christian McCaffrey's the easy pick because he does get all those receptions, and we're just going to hope that Sam Darnold, all-star quarterback number 1,
Yeah.
can get him those receptions. Or we're going to also hope that these weird injuries happening to McCaffrey are not going to keep happening, that he didn't already peak. We're splitting hairs with McCaffrey and Cook. I think they are 1A, 1B. You pick your choice. But I'm going to plant my flag with Cook, just thinking this is going to be his year. He's worked it up every year. He has consistently got better, came back from the injury the first year, and he's taken the Vikings team on his back. What they do totally depends upon what he does this year.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I can see it happening. Said he had, how many catches did he have last year? You said 44.
He had 44 last year for 360 and a touchdown.
Yeah,
He's got to catch more than that.
yeah. He's probably had to jump that up to probably like that 70 number. Plus getting a few touchdowns. In the air. I don't know how many. What's his highest? You know his highest. Most catches he's had in the season.
Yeah, ironically, he's known as a receiving back, and 53 was the most receptions he's ever had. So him it's totally on a gut feeling because I don't think he can be held in his career. He only has 3 receiving touchdowns. 3.
That's crazy.
So
Yeah.
I just have there's something I'm feeling about this year with Dalvin Cook. It just that magical year that he's going to. Usually no running backs that go this big only do it once. There's like 2 magical years, unless you get that 2,000 yard thing, then you drop big time. But he's at the 1,500s. He can get 2,000 all-purpose yards easily and add a couple touchdowns. Booyah!
Yeah, they see that. I could definitely. I like Dalvin Cook. Like I said, those catches got to come up a lot. But there's definitely the receiving touchdowns. This is gonna be hard with him and Kamara trying battling Kamara and CMC with all the catches that they get, and they're the focal points of their offense. Only weapons pretty much they got. But I think my guy does have that catching ability. He's proved it before. I'm going with Zeke Elliott coming back after the down year that he had last year. Of course, he only had 6 touchdowns last year. That was a big part of it. And only had 52 catches, kind of like Dalvin Cook area. But the biggest issue was Dak Prescott not being there. Before Dak Prescott left, I'm pretty sure like first few games, Elliott was like the 1 or 2 ranked running back. So coming back this year healthy, hopefully, even if he's not fully healthy, they take the load off Dak a little more and put it on Elliott. Jerry's paid him all that money, so Jerry wants to be right. So Jerry's probably like, just give the ball to Zeke as many times as you can, get our $90 million worth out of it. So those touchdowns come up. get those catches up to 60, 65. He did have 1 year where he was at 77, so we know he can do it. Um, he usually gets 2 touchdowns receiving a year. So I mean, look, you know, like this, it's all touchdown dependent, really. He's going to get the yards. Uh, of course, Pollard they might work in a little bit, but I just don't see him taking the ball away from Elliott just to give it to Pollard. I mean, I was watching a little bit of Hard Knocks for the first time last night, and Elliott's looking pretty good out there. I'm not gonna lie.
He's looking amazing. Yeah, Pollard would be the only thing that worries me. I hope it's just coach speak that they're going to slow down on Pollard, that they're going to use Pollard more rather, and give Zeke some rest. But logically, it would say, hey, give Zeke some rest at some points, which could hurt the argument for him to be number one. But it's interesting how Zeke is not known as much as a receiving running back as Cook
Yeah,
is, but Zeke is a
yeah,
better receiving running back, which is
TV.
ironic for the whole situation. And the other thing that I noted, if you compare their stats to CMC, is McCaffrey, the most receiving touchdowns he's ever had is 6. The year that he went ballistic and had 1,000 yards receiving, 1,000 yards rushing, he only had 4 receiving touchdowns. So Zeke's going to have to pound in those receiving touchdowns, especially considering that receiving core, which is stout. And I mean, I'm hoping Zeke's number one. I traded for Zeke in a league, and I could totally see it. Like as I said before, we're splitting hairs. These are 3 studs. Throw Kamara in there. There's 4 studs right there. Any of those, I think it's gonna be one of those 4 guys.
Yeah, I mean that offense is just insane. So, I mean, you got all 3 of those receivers out there running down the field. It's just going to open that underneath all up, is open, and Zeke's just going to be standing there. So I mean, he might be able to get those 4 or 5 receiving touchdowns.
That's
So
true. So now you're gonna go to really your only wrong pick of the day. This will go back to our ongoing league bet, but can't be right all the time.
I am right on this one. So my guy, straight to it, is DK Metcalf. So if I'm expecting this huge season from Russell Wilson, got their new offensive passing coordinator coming in, they're going to throw the ball. The first year Metcalf come in, he had 100 targets. In the second year, he had the 129 targets. The first 8 games, he was killing it. Kind of fell off there in the second half, but so did the whole team. Russell fell off. But like I said, I don't see that happening this year. I think they spread it out farther into the season. Um, so if DK Metcalf gets that 129 target up to, let's say, what, 150, maybe 160, and then those touchdowns go from 10 to 15, 10 to 16. I mean, that's the number one wide receiver right there. So, like I said, as long as this offense comes out throwing the ball, I mean, I think the ceiling is crazy for Metcalf this year.
There's nothing hidden that I'm not a DK guy.
Should
Um,
be.
I, I, I'll be proven wrong. I could be wearing a dress on the podcast. Who knows? Because I'm going to lose the bet. But I just I don't know. So it's that gut feeling. It's the not the trusting the Seattle passing offense. Russ is consistent. I can't argue against Russ. He's consistent. I believe I saw some stat that he's been a QB1 his entire career, and even I forget what if it was top 5, top 7, something his
Yeah, he's
entire
like,
career.
yeah, I mentioned that when I brought him up. The lowest he was quarterback 11, and that was his rookie year. So
So
he's been,
he's consistent. Nothing about that. But the problem is his pass catchers have never been consistent because he is a smart quarterback.
he's never
So
had DK Metcalf.
he hasn't. That's true. So it's like the Randy Moss for Tom Brady thing, right?
Yep.
So he's spreading it out. But he also loves some Tyler Lockett and Gerald Everett. Do I think DK is going to be a 15 receiver? No. Do I think DK is going to be a top 6 to 8 receiver? More than likely. So his stats last year, imagine if he ended his season last year at the pace he started, you'd be totally right. Holy
Yeah,
cow. He'd
that's
have
what.
1,900 yards, wouldn't he?
Yeah, is it like if he just like I don't understand what happened those last couple of games. He just did not do much there. But like I said, that whole offense was bad there in the second half of the season. I think that's pretty much why they got rid of, I guess, their old offensive coordinator, bringing in some new blood. So, like I said, they're bringing in a passing guy. There's no reason why they're not going to pass the ball even more. So let Russ cook.
I'll let Russ cook. There's no secret to my next guy. I'm not full of a lot of secrets this week.
You're going to pass over him like you do every other time.
Yeah, no, yeah. Someone told me that I had to do a running back heavy draft, so I had to pass over my boy Calvin
Got
Ridley. But I just see him jumping into that next echelon to be the next to be the next wide receiver one. So Matt Ryan has always been a steady quarterback once he got into after his first 3 4 years. Once he got cooking, he's had 4,000 yards since 2011 every season, or almost 4,200 yards every season since then. He has had various receivers to throw through. Roddy White didn't let into Julio Jones, and Julio Jones's prime. Julio was averaging, well, not average, was averaging about 15, 16, 1,500 yards a season. So Calvin Ridley last year in his coming out party had 1374. So give him another couple hundred yards. Figure he's going to get into double-digit touchdowns, which Julio never did, but Ridley has always been a touchdown machine. So make him from the wide receiver 2 to the wide receiver 1, and he's already getting his lowest output was 7, but he's had 9 and 10 touchdowns. Give him a couple more touchdowns in there, and up those receptions because we are talking. Generally, we're looking at half point PPR. We play in a lot of combinations, PPR, half point PPR. Either way, it balances out. But as a wide receiver, he's going to get 100, 110, 115 catches because those are your take out Julio's catches. You're going to give some of those are going to go to Kyle Pitts, who they're throwing everywhere. Russell Gage is going to be a great number 2 stepping in. Russell Gage could be the old he could take the old Calvin Ridley role, 63, 866, and 7 touchdowns easily. Russell Gage, I think he did that last year, something close to that. But they're going to pass a lot, as we've mentioned a gajillion times. They're going to be down a lot, which means you have to pass. So if you got to pass that much, Calvin Ridley, give him the crown as the king of garbage time and roll your way to wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I mean it's very possible. You know they're going to be down a lot. That the team isn't very good. The defense is really bad. Yeah, I can't argue with Ridley. I like Ridley. I took him in our auction league. So most likely there's going to be a different wide receiver 1 this year than Adams last year. I think the last person to repeat was Antonio Brown in 2015, and after that it's been somebody different every year. So it's hard to repeat. So you know that you lose a touchdown, you lose 2 touchdowns. Um, that's enough to take you out of that number 1 spot. So there's probably going to be somebody different in there. Calvin Ridley stands just as much chance to do it as DK Metcalf goes. I mean, they pretty much had the exact same stat line last year, 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns roughly. So I
Yep.
mean, both of the offenses increase. I mean, these 2 guys could be battling out for the wide receiver 1 next year, and it wouldn't surprise me.
No, I can't argue too much because stats back up DK and stats back up Calvin. Now we're going to move on to the desolate landscape known as tight ends.
This is the easiest one.
Everybody knows there's 3 tight ends that are good: Waller, Kelsey, and Kittle. Everybody knows that Kelsey has been dominant for many, many years. Kelsey will turn 32 in October. And so we had a choice. Do we take Kelsey? Do we take Waller? Do we take Kittle? Or are we stupid? The good news is we're not stupid. We each took a different player, actually. Who do you think? Who should start out this segment?
You go ahead.
Okay, I'm a little riskier. You think I'm a little riskier? I'm
Yeah,
spoiling
you
for you.
got a little riskier, so you go ahead and take this, and then I'll finish with the unanimous choice.
The unanimous choice. Yeah. I'd be curious to see when you come up, look up your stats there while I'm talking about my boy here and tell me who else people nominated to get into that section. So I think I have this feeling Darren Waller is about ready to take over the tight end landscape. Darren Waller, and to me, Darren Waller, if you're looking at it realistically on the way the scales are set, it's usually Kelsey, Waller, Kittle, and they're even. And it's just a matter of who you like. I look at Darren Waller versus Kittle. Kittle is a target monster, but not as much of a touchdown monster. Waller is the guy Derek Carr looks to first, second, and third in the end zone. And last year, he became a target monster. He had 107 receptions last year. So now we're going into that Kelsey kind of range. He had more receptions than Kelsey last year. So if Waller continues to be the touchdown monster in Las Vegas now, I almost said Oakland, in Las Vegas, then he's going to be able to fight Kelsey there for that top spot. The only difference really between Waller and Kelsey is the length of receptions. So I've seen Waller take some nasty long bombs down the field, but he's usually a short curls, shorter passes to help move the chain. So if he gets a couple of those, easily he's going to go up and over, and he's going to pass Kelsey, or at least battle him this year. So I'll plant my flag and I'll say Darren Waller is the tight end one this year. I have him in one league. I actually just traded him away in another league, but I walked away with Dalvin Cook. So what can you do? Thank you to our loyal listener who did that trade with me. I finally got Dalvin. I love that guy.
Thanks. Let's get at her. Appreciate that
one. So you're safe. Tell us why you're safe.
Well, I mean, I'm safe because there's really no other. I don't think there's really any other. I tried really hard. I want trying to come up with a way that somebody else would finish. Like I said the only other person I could come up with would have been Waller, and he's finished 5 years in a row as the number one tight end. The offense hasn't changed. I think he's still the focal point of the offense. I know he's got Tyreek Hill out there, but I think Kelsey is still that guy. I think Mahomes trusts Kelsey more than anybody else on that team. So he knows that when he's in trouble, Kelsey's going to be there. I mean, he had 105 catches last year, 97 the year before that, 103 the year before that. I mean, the targets aren't going to go anywhere. I mean, he can catch the ball like crazy. Like I said, I just don't see it being any different than it has been. So, like I said, I just thought I tried to be different, but I couldn't come up with anything else. Tried to put Pitts in there somehow. I just couldn't do it.
You didn't want to try to get cute and go with a little Higbee, see what happens?
No. I'll save my tight end landscape for next week. I'll come up with something a little better next week.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't argue Kelsey. Kelsey's been consistent. I was trying to look up the stat while you were talking, and I missed it to look it up pre-show, but Kelsey usually averages out as a high tight end 2 with all of the reception, like last year. A high
wide receiver
too. Yeah, sorry, a wide receiver too. And even with last year, though, he probably would have been in the wide receiver 1 range when you have 11 touchdowns, 400 yards, 105 receptions.
Oh, you've been close.
So yeah, he probably. I mean, if you look, what were we saying? He had better stats than Calvin Ridley.
Oh yeah, better. He had better.
DK.
Yeah,
he didn't have the touchdowns of Devontae Adams, but so I bet you that's a stat maybe we'll have to pull up and throw out in a later.
Yeah, he might have been. He might have been a top 5 wide receiver last year. I mean, it's very possible.
It's just been amazing, and it still makes me want to puke a little bit that I traded him away years ago because he just started out. He was initially called Baby Gronk.
I mean, it's turned out that way.
So now we're gonna do something that you love, near and dear to your heart. We're gonna throw out a couple of rookies, and as we said in the opening, we're gonna go with a quarterback and a non-quarterback, and we're going to. And this really is just gut feeling because you don't know how the coaching staff's going to handle the guy, what's going to happen, how they're going to come out of the gates, how they're going to adjust to the pro game. We're seeing some preseason games, which is leading to my guy and your guy and the non-quarterback, and especially your guy and the quarterback. Not so much my guy, but it is gut feelings to a point with rookies because you don't know what's going to happen. Some rookies just ball out all of a sudden out of nowhere. So hit it out of the park. I love your quarterback. He was my favorite quarterback coming into this draft. And I like the situation where he is. Tell us why you chose him.
So, my guy's been a number 1 guy since coming out of high school. Like, of course, the only person he was behind, of course, is your guy. But I mean, he's exceeded all expectations. I mean, he's the number 1 guy coming out of high school, number 1 guy coming out of college. And I still don't know how he fell to number 11, but Justin Fields is just going to be. I think he's set up really well. Of course, he might not start. They might give the fans a game or two to boo Andy Dalton, to give him a reason, just so Nagy said, well, he was my guy, so I gave him a chance. But I'm telling you, those fans are not going to be nice to Andy Dalton. So he better throw a lot of touchdowns those first couple games, or it's going to get bad. But yeah, once he comes in, we've seen what he's been able to do on the field. I mean, he's got that running capability. His arm looks great. Little inconsistencies, but of course he's a rookie quarterback. I mean, what do you expect? So gives him time to adjust. But when I watch him play out there, I mean, it looks like he belongs out there. Looks confident. All the throws are there. He makes some big throws. So once he gets in there, I don't see why he couldn't be a quarterback one just on his with his rushing capability. He looks good running the ball. He's running all over the place. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, the Panthers and the Broncos fans are going to regret not drafting
Oh,
Justin
absolutely.
Fields. That I mean, you're running. Teddy B is going to be fine. He's not going to be spectacular, but he's going to be fine because he has a stellar cast. But give Justin Fields that cast. Oh
Oh
my
man.
goodness!
I mean, he and
Same thing
he's
with
got
Carolina.
he's got a good cast. I mean, he's got Allen Robinson. He hasn't even played with
Mhm.
Allen Robinson yet. He hasn't played with David Montgomery. I don't think he's played with Komet yet. I don't think any of those guys have even played. And here they are throwing their franchise quarterback out there with second and third stringers. It makes literally no sense to me. But I mean, I'm not an NFL coach, so I don't know. But once he has Allen Robinson out there and he can target him constantly, dude, he's gonna kill it.
It's all dependent upon Andy Dalton. You got Nagy, who comes from that Andy Reid tree. Andy Reid set Patrick Mahomes for an entire year, but that year was a pretty good Kansas City Chiefs team. So Mahomes setting is old school, had him get through. And I have a, I don't know. Is he going to be old school? Is Dalton going to do just enough to let them set Fields that they'll wait till they're out of contention? And it really depends upon the team. Like, I think Fields might not play until they stink.
The, oh, I I could just see these fans booing Dalton from the
Yeah.
first snap of the season. They're going to
Yeah.
be booming, and if he doesn't throw a touchdown first
80
before he
yard
throws an
bomb to
interception,
Mooney. First pass, Mooney
he
down the field.
he better hope they score a touchdown that first drive. Andy Dalton does something special because it's going to be a rain of boos. Tell us about your guy.
So my guy's easy. I went chalk like you did with Kelsey, but it's Trevor Lawrence. He's starting day one. If you're starting day one, you're gonna be the best rookie quarterback. He is literally, other than, I mean, if I wanted to really test the waters, I would say Zach Wilson. But the difference for like those are the two that we know for sure are starting day one. There's rumors of maybe some Trey Sermon, but I still don't think he's going to start. But Trevor Lawrence has a better cast of characters. Trevor Lawrence lost ETN. We'll talk about that later, but he has James Robinson there. He's got the experience of Carlos Hyde, not a stellar running back, but he's consistent. He's got the experience to sort of help Lawrence along the way. He's got the receivers there that are targeting through. Visca is going to be there moving around all the positions. You got Chark. Marvin Jones is that elder statesman that's going to teach him the ropes as he's going. Now, Trevor Lawrence is not going to have anything near a QB1, in my opinion, this year kind of season. But in the last couple of years, you're looking at quarterbacks having better seasons as rookies. Baker only played 13 games and he threw for 3,700 yards and 27 touchdowns. Cam, he ran for a ton of touchdowns. Like Cam has that season that's just lights out. 4,000 yards, 21 passing touchdowns, 700 rushing yards, 14 touchdowns. Sunshine's not going to touch that. So not at all. He'll probably have something close. I could envision him being a little bit more than Russell Wilson, who had 3,100 yards, 26 touchdowns, about 500 yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns. I think he could have more passing yards, but be somewhere in that realm where Russell Wilson is. And that would make him the QB1 of the rookies this year. And he's been the man, he's been the most touted prospect since probably Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck
Oh,
came out, killed it. You love T Law.
oh, I love me some T-Law. Like I said, he was the number one guy coming out of high school with Justin Fields. They both come out together. He was the guy. And here we are 4 years later, and both of them are still the guy. So, I mean, they've lived up to the expectations. Not a lot of people do that. I don't think people understand that. Like, the path that they have is always being that guy, and they still are. I think that's very impressive, and it's just amazing how the last week after Lawrence's last game and that preseason game, everybody just seems to be so down on him. It's just like, oh my god, what happened? And then all of a sudden, it seems like the locker room isn't feeling the Urban Meyer vibe. It's like where does all this come from? I mean, just literally they had one bad preseason game and all of a sudden the wheels are just falling off of Jack. Well, I don't think there was any wheels in Jacksonville for them to fall off anyway.
True, it's a
I
wheelbarrow.
mean, what was their expectations? I mean,
Yeah.
nobody was thinking they're going to be great. If you think Urban Meyer's going to come in and take over this team and just make him a Super Bowl contender, you got to be crazy. You got to give the guy a little bit of time to figure out, what he has to do. I mean, he's on the right path. But like I said, we'll see how it goes once he opens up his playbook. Um, the offense is going to look totally different than it does right now. I mean, they all are. So, like I said, I've got no worries about Trevor Lawrence at all. Zero.
Didn't Peyton Manning win one game his rookie year? I believe it was pretty bad that year.
Oh, he had like 25 interceptions or something.
Yeah.
It
So
was
it's
crazy. Like I said, I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is Peyton Manning, or am I? I could be. Uh, but like I said, I don't think there's any situation where Trevor Lawrence fails.
So here we go. We're going with our non-quarterback rookies. We both chose running backs. I think I went as that you went the safe route and I went a little more dangerous this time, where I went safe and you went dangerous the other one. So we'll start with danger. We'll go with a little danger. The running
Okay,
back
good
I
danger.
chose actually I was not a fan of come draft night. I was like, man, I'm watching my Dolphins. They got sniped for him, so they didn't get him. But I'm like, oh man, I didn't want us to take Harris in the first round because I think we needed other pieces. So we're getting through, and I was like, okay, cool. ETN might come to us. Oh man, why did the Giants take Kadarius Toney? Because if the Giants hadn't taken Kadarius Toney would be a Jacksonville Jaguar, and ETN would have slipped down, and we probably would have jumped up and grabbed him. But then I was like, oh, I guess we're gonna get Javonte Williams. Okay. And he fell to Denver. I was like, oh. And then I started looking a little more into Javonte Williams. I started watching him play some of the and read about Javonte Williams here in the preseason and in the practice and how he is shining at camp. Javonte Williams looks like a cannonball coming out, just boom, coming out from the get go. His first game was 5 for 29, so he's averaging over 5 yards just on 5 carries. But just watching him play, he looks like he's ready and prime to start week one. Sure, he's going to be slowed down by Melvin Gordon, but other than the safe pick you're taking, nobody else is going to be jumping in there. And some guys I'm seeing some beat reporters saying that Javonte Williams could get the 60 of the 60-40 from the Denver running backs. And I think that Denver team is going to be sneaky better than we think it is because they're going to be back and healthy on the defense with that stout defense that they're going to want to run to keep the defense off the field. Teddy B is a good game manager. The receivers are disgusting. The tight end is awesome. So they're not going to be better than the Chiefs, but they're going to be, I think they could easily be the number 2 team in the West fighting with the Chargers there, but their defense is better than the Chargers. And a running game gets you over that hump. And if you have a young stud versus old man Gordon, they're going to cannonball him through and send the old man to the bench.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I still think Gordon's going to get the carries there in the beginning of the year. They're still paying him $8 million. I don't think they're going to pay him $8 million to not carry the ball. So why not just give Gordon as many carries as he can handle, save Williams for a little bit. Maybe he comes on later in the year, kind of like Dobbins did those last couple games. But I think Gordon's still going to get his fair share of carries. Don't think Williams is going to be that receiving back. Gordon's probably going to take that. Depends on who the goal line back's going to be. They'll probably both get their opportunities. I just think my guy is a little, like he says, a little safer. He's definitely got the workload, and I think that's Najee Harris. He is the 3 down back in this offense because technically they don't have anybody else. But he can catch. He's the goal line back. So when you're the goal line back and you are the 3 down back, you're going to score a lot of points on a team that traditionally their running backs score a lot of points.
Yeah.
I know their offensive line isn't what it used to be, but I don't think they're going to have Roethlisberger drop back 600 times like they have in the past because he just can't do it anymore. So why not bring in this young stud running back, give him as much of the volume as he can handle? I think a solid running back one, that 10 to 12 range is definitely in the possibility. Maybe even a little more. If he could end up with 15 touchdowns, 16 touchdowns, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. So yeah, he could vault up there real quick. I mean, it's a safe pick, but I think it's pretty much the only pick, honestly.
Yeah, I can't argue. I can't say that I wasn't just trying to be cute by saying Javante Williams, to be honest. Harris, I told you I took Harris over Ridley, and Ridley's my boy. I took Harris because I wanted that stout backfield. One of my dynasties, I'm rocking a Harris Mixon backfield. I'm
Yeah, I mean,
very excited about that. I went from being a crud team to a decent team in a couple of weeks through that. So there you go. You have our ones for the year. So let's look at our QB one. My starting lineup of my ones are QB one Tom Brady, RB one Dalvin Cook, wide receiver one Calvin Ridley, tight end one Darren Waller, rookie QB one Trevor Lawrence, rookie QB one non-quarterback is Javante Williams.
yeah. So my guys, Russell Wilson, I guess my quarterback. Zeke Elliott is the running back. Metcalf is the wide receiver. Kelsey's my tight end. Fields, and then Najee, Najee Harris. Yes, it's good teams. We'll see how it turns out at the end of the year.
That'd be cool. Maybe I'll just slide this on and figure out how to wager this out. I'll put it on our bet sheet just to see. Maybe the winner is like whoever is the closest, or like whoever falls closest to one will just make some points or
I,
something out of that.
I mean, I really think that Calvin Ridley, DK Metcalf is going to come down to. I mean, I think they both got
Be
a
on the wire.
fantastic chance here.
Yeah, Zeke. The only ones where we'll get lost will be probably Javante and Harris. You should win that one probably. Brady and Wilson could be really close.
Yeah, I mean, it could be close. Like I said, I'm not, I don't know. I mean, nobody knows.
Yeah,
Like I
it's
said, we're just throwing it out there, and if it sticks, we look really smart. And if it doesn't, I don't even remember this. So
I saved it on the bet sheet. We will never
it's a
forget.
win-win situation. Nobody's going to remember it if I'm wrong, but if I'm right, everybody's going to remember it because I'm going to let them know.
Oh yeah. So training camp is up and going. We only have, oh my goodness, can you believe that we are less than 2 weeks away from the start of the season? And this week, we're really just going to focus on one injury, devastating injury to some, joyful injury. If that sounds horrible, but you know what I mean.
That does sound bad.
It does sound bad. We're not happy that he's hurt, but us James Robinson owners are
Yes,
looking
back.
very good right now.
James
That's
Robinson is back.
rookie extraordinaire Travis Etienne out for the season. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Did that go from bad to worse? Could a Twitter feed go from bad to worse quicker than seeing Travis Etienne injured? Boom, Travis Etienne.
Alpha.
Wow, that came quick. So, what are your thoughts here on the Etienne injury?
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate. Like I think he's going to have a big role in the offense. He's going to get the passing work. I mean he's a legit running back, so he was going to get a lot of run. But of course, this is football and injuries happen. So we'll have to wait till next year for to see what really happens. But James Robinson is back. I mean, like I said, it's unfortunate for
Um,
ATN. I feel bad for the guy, but this is fantasy. You got to move on to that next man up.
Yep, I still have my team that had Najee and Mixon. James Robinson is my third back. Oh baby,
Yeah, that's
baby.
what I'm saying.
My other
He's gonna
team,
get a lot of work.
my super rebuild has some James Robinson. He's going to get his work. They're going to try to sprinkle in Hyde, give him some. But another person that will benefit from this is Laviska Chenault, because that was one of the fears of with my love of Visca was that ETM was going to steal some of those. Because if his catches were a lot of them were he had a lot of those short near the line catches, and some of those reverses probably wouldn't have come to him, or whatever sweeps he was getting, because they were going to give some of those to ETN because they were lining him up at receiver, giving him some of those gadget plays. But now it's back to last year with a better quarterback is what is going to happen down there.
Yeah, like I said. So like I said, it's unfortunate, but this kind of stuff happens every year.
Now let's get to some training camp hype we believe. And boy, was I wrong. And I am so glad I was wrong. I was wrong, not really, but sort of yes. I think it was you that posted on our fantasy
It's
thread.
definitely me.
Jameis Winston, QB1 for the New Orleans Saints. We both, I believe, said Jameis is a better quarterback, but I said I think Sean Payton is too stinking stubborn, and he's going to have to play Taysom just so he can show how great he is, that he is the man. And I'm glad I was wrong because I have Jameis somewhere, but I think they made the right choice.
They definitely made the right choice. Like I said, Winston is just a better quarterback. Is Taysom Hill a better athlete? Sure, but better athletes don't make you a better quarterback. And Winston can sling it all over the place. and evidently, Hill might be requesting a trade soon because he said
Really?
he wanted to be a quarterback in the NFL. So he's definitely not going to be the quarterback here unless Winston plays really bad. I guess it's still possible, but
Carolina Panthers. Did you hear that? Carolina Panthers
yeah,
looking for a quarterback. They got Sam Darnold.
they don't need one. They're set for a couple years.
But yeah, I think it's great news for everybody. I mean, him Callaway is probably the you said there was that vote for Callaway wide receiver one. This
Yeah,
could be it because
yeah.
Winston
Maybe,
peppered
but
him.
once Callaway starts getting that number one cornerback on him, it's going to be a little tougher to catch those bombs.
Watch out for little Jordan Humphreys. Here we go.
Yeah,
Or
a
my boy,
little
you know
bit.
who I'm talking about? Tight
Oh
end
yeah,
one.
Jawan. Maybe we'll see.
Tight end one
We'll see if
for the
Troutman can make it
Orleans
back.
Saints. I think Alvin Kamara is the happiest guy on earth because now he's not going to get snaked in the end zone. It's the best thing for the team too because Taysom can be in that Taysom Hill role. That is a very important role to that team to be able to throw a bowling ball through, have him play all those different roles. So he's a weapon, and they're paying him. This dude is going to never be a QB1 and make more money than a couple of QB1s are going to make because of that.
Well, his contract is really stupid. So his contract is all voidable. So I heard today that his contract is basically just a 1 year contract worth $1 million with incentives.
Oh, really?
But yes, but how they worded it is like his 4 year, $160 million is all voidable. And like I said, I don't really understand it, but he's not really getting paid that much money.
Well, then I stand corrected with that.
Yeah, that's no there's
Sucker.
no team in the world would pay that guy that. But like I said, it just sounds crazy, but I don't think that's how it really works.
Big trade this week. Sony Michelle was traded to the Los Angeles Rams from the New England Patriots for some conditional draft picks. What does that make you think about Henderson, uh,
I think
Jones, Onk?
Sony's going to take a lot of that work from Henderson. I think that makes it more of a 50-50 between Sony and Henderson. Like Henderson's going to get that first run at it. But if Henderson succeeds, uh, the, they might continue to feed him and feed him. But if he doesn't impress a whole lot, Sony's going to get worked in there. And I think this hurts Henderson a whole lot because we know Sony can play football. Sony is like he averaged almost 6 yards a carry last year. So, like I said, as long as those knees are able to maintain, he's got a shot.
I think a lot of people are really crying about that fab they wasted on Jones. That's
Oh
me.
yeah,
And Funk, the next CMC. Maybe you should have traded him for Dokes. Dokes hasn't been cut yet.
yeah. I should have.
I just dropped Funk in another league to pick up the running back for the Saints. The guy that might be Scott, I
Was
think
that
he's going to be sent to
no? Scott got traded. I think his name's Tony Jones or
Tony
something.
Jones. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, Tony Jones, who supposedly is sneaking up on Lat Murray for that number 2 job. So I was like, hey, Funk's running back 4, okay, and he's going to be a running back 5 next year. So yeah, I'll pick up this guy that looks like he could be Alvin Kamara's thunder. I'll take that any day of the week. So yeah, it's intriguing. It clears up your boy Damian Harris and my boy Ramondre to have roles. Like Damian's going to get what 70% of the carries,
He'll
and
get
Ramondre's
all
going to
of
get
it.
some
And with
big
Mac
privilege.
Jones probably going to be the starter, he'll get all that goal line. We got to have RB1 coming up here.
How much are they going to get to the goal line with Mac Jones as a starter?
From what I gather, he's playing fantastic.
That's
So
what I
they
hear
might get
too.
down there a lot.
Yeah. Zach Wilson, speaking of playing fantastic, look at Zach Wilson, week 2, 9 of 11, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns, 154.7 QB rating. These are Tua Tagovailoa numbers. I mean, he is going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, right?
If this isn't a trap, I don't know what is. So we're like, oh, Trevor Lawrence is struggling. Justin Fields, he's looking okay. Trey Lance is this, and Mac is this, but Zach Wilson is just looking fantastic. I'm like, whatever. You can have Zach Wilson. I'm not a fan of that. He might be good. I don't trust it, man. These look. This kind of stuff happens all the time in the preseason. They build these guys up, and then the fall is just so much greater. But like I said, I hope he succeeds. I mean, I'm not wishing ill will on the guy, but if this doesn't say trap, I don't know what does.
No, no, last 2 notes are on quarterback news. Teddy Bridgewater is QB1 in Denver. Where does that put him?
How bad is Drew Lock? That's what I don't understand. How bad is Drew Lock really that bad? He can't even beat out Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater doesn't even throw the ball down. Well, I mean, he did support
Last year,
3,000
he's
yard receivers. So I apologize. I apologize. But I mean, like I said, Teddy B's that consistent guy, and I guess Locke just can't complete passes. But who this does help is Jerry Judy because now he will actually have passes that are catchable.
catchable.
So yeah, so as long as he can catch them, Teddy B will put it there. So
Oh,
hopefully.
I'd jump on the Teddy B train in a 2 quarterback league right now as quick as I could. Put him in as my QB2, my super flex. With those weapons, I mean, he had great he had good weapons last year. This year he has
I think
great weapons.
I think he finishes like number 17
Yeah.
QB last year. So I mean I see that's where he's finishing again this year. He doesn't really offer much else. He doesn't run the ball a lot, or if at all. I don't even know if Teddy runs the ball.
Man,
But
that's since those
he
slash.
says so. I mean, like it helps out Fant. It helps out everybody offensively. I think. I mean, like I said, they're not going to put up great numbers, but they'll put up respectable good numbers.
Yeah, I think he'd even run less than Locke. Like I bet you Locke would try to sneak out a couple. So it helps Gordon and Williams as well because they're going to be they're not Teddy Bridgewater is not going to run over the line to get a touchdown. They're going to
Yeah,
hand
like I
it to
said,
one of those guys.
I mean, like it helps them win. So I guess that's what they're going.
Last question I have for you is Dwayne Haskins the future in Pittsburgh?
Probably not. Like you know what? I mean, maybe. Who knows? Like I said, it's preseason, so anybody can really look good in pre. From what he says, I mean, he loves it in Pittsburgh. I think the Pittsburgh people love him. Evidently, I mean, him and Tomlin got like this great relationship. So maybe the Redskins just suck and nobody's good there. So I mean, that's very possible. It's been like that for what 30 years.
Most of our
So
yeah.
Not WFT. I didn't mean the Redskins. I apologize. WFT. We're coming up with a new name soon. Honestly, I hope they keep WFT. Kind of like that. It's pretty different. But like I said, he might be. I mean, I think he's going to get his shot. So that's all you can ask for Dwayne Haskins, who's been pretty much a screw up since he's gotten into the league. I mean, he's getting his second chance. Hopefully, he can fix his second chance, kind of like Jameis is doing in New Orleans. So I mean, it's kind of like maybe the same situation a little bit. Just hope he can get his head out of his butt.
You stole my point there. I was gonna say, is he gonna be Tomlin's Jameis?
Yeah.
He's it's like where does he fall in the Winston to Jamarcus Russell range? He's like right in the middle, leaning a little bit towards Russell, but starting to go back towards Jameis because he wasn't as stellar as I mean, Jameis had some amazing games. He just threw too many interceptions. Dwayne never had those giant games. Really cool thing for those of you that are here. Dwayne Haskins during when COVID lockdown was training outside of my elementary school on the turf field by my school where I teach. So there's a Twitter feed I found of him. I was like, hey, that's my school. So anybody who trains by an elementary school is an NFL. It's the high school. It's a nice turf field for a high school. But hey, I have this. I've been eyeing him, and I'm sitting there. And now that I say it, I might have to go pick him up in one of my dynasty leagues for future reference. But I don't have space. But I think he could.
Worth a shot. I mean, if you got an empty spot, I mean, put him on there. I mean, he's a quarterback. So I mean, if he can somehow become a starting quarterback, that's so valuable. So why not give it a shot? I don't think
Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and Najee Harris.
That is true. I mean, like I said, the offense is good. As long as that offensive line is solid. I mean, like maybe who knows? I could be wrong. I mean,
yeah,
where it goes.
It's happened. Weirder things have happened. So
weird things have happened.
Make sure to like us, share us, subscribe to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Check us out at the Fantasy Couriers at gmail.com. Check out our website. All the links are on our YouTube page. All the links are linked into the podcast. JJ Wang, take us out of here.
Yep, great show. Season's only 2 weeks away. Super excited. So as you're getting your drafts in, remember always trust yourself and trust the process.